What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show. We're going to catch you up on everything going on here in our country right now. President Joe Biden has had more classified documents found at his home, some of which were when he was a senator and a vice president, so from many years ago. And right now we have an interview from Senator Joe Manchin, who's not really President Biden's favorite fan or biggest fan. Here's what Senator Joe Manchin has to say here. Remember that Joe Manchin has defied Biden on several different matters here. He's actually, remember, he sat with the Republicans on one of the most recent meetings here at the Capitol. So, yeah, he's kind of a swing vote here. But listen to what he has to say about Biden basically taking home classified documents when he was a senator. Take a listen.
Senator Manchin, welcome back.
Chuck, it's always good to be with you.
Look, I want to get into the debt ceiling. I want to get into all this stuff,
Yeah.
but we got some developments overnight with this classified documents. An FBI search. White House said it was coordinated with the FBI, but we now have an FBI search into former President Trump's. Now we have an FBI search into President Biden's residence. What's your assessment of how the president has handled this situation?
Well, I mean, it's just hard to believe that in the United States of America we have a former president and a current president that basically in the same situation. How does this happen? You know, only thing I can tell you, Chuck, is when I go into the SCIF with the secured documents, they always ask, "Are you clean when you walk out?" Yeah. They want to make sure you're not carrying anything out. You know, and it might be a mistake. You might just put it in your other papers, but you double check right there. So that to be held accountable and responsible is what we all are. And to put those in unsecured spaces is irresponsible.
Do you see similarities, or do you see more differences in how President Trump versus how President Biden?
I'm not going to make that decision, but I think that Merrick Garland did the right thing by putting a special counsel.
You do.
And I think that we should wait until the special counsel rather than making this a political circus. Let them find out the facts. What was one more damaging? Are they both about the same? Did not cause any problem? Or is one more reckless and irresponsible than the other? I can't answer that question, but I think the special counsel will do a better job than the politicians and the political circus that's going to follow.
President Biden said he had no regrets in how he handled this. Do you have any advice for him on how he should handle this?
Oh, I think he should have a lot of regrets. Yeah, I would think that. I said whoever's responsible. I mean, if I hold people accountable, and I use whether it be my chief of staff or my staff that we're doing this, and I'm looking at, then I'm going to hold someone accountable. But basically, the buck stops with me.
So you think he should be out there and look? I messed up. Maybe I didn't do it. Just say it. Just fall on your sword here.
We're all human.
Yeah.
We make mistakes. I can tell you, I don't think anyone intended. He sure didn't intend for it to fall in the wrong hands and use it against our country. I know they didn't intend that to happen. Could it have happened? I don't know. And yeah, you just might as well say, listen, it's irresponsible. It was something that we should have had a better check and balance on.
Now, former President Trump defied a subpoena. So in that sense, the way each has handled it is different. Do you acknowledge that?
Absolutely, much different than the other. One's saying, okay, I hope I didn't make any mistakes. Right. I hope no one was compromised. I hope we didn't hurt our country. And the other one says, no, I know it didn't. Believe me. Well, you know what? What they said, verify, you have to verify.
Trust but verify.
Trust but verify. Let's find out. And that's what the special counsel is about.
And that's what you want here, both special counsels to sort of resolve this.
First of all, every one of us in our life have to be held accountable and responsible for our actions.
Yeah.
As people want accountability. And they want basically when you're held accountable, are you responsible or not? Mm-hmm. If you are, can you fix that? Did you make a mistake? Fine.
And that's what you think. The president needs to get out there and just get in front of
Cicero said to err is human. You're a human being. You're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Did you intend to make it? Did you intend to harm somebody? Did you intend to basically do an irresponsible thing? I don't think. Hopefully, neither one of them did.
Right.
But they sure turned out to be irresponsible.
Yeah, so what do you think about the differences between former President Donald Trump and President Biden? Classified documents being found from both of them. Is this more common than what we thought here? Are there a bunch of senators running around with classified documents at their homes that we might not know about? Should people like Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell have their homes raided? Who knows how many documents they have? And long-term senators, even people like Kevin McCarthy and people like that, should their homes be looked at? But you got to remember that they're still in the Senate, so it's kind of different. So I guess that they would still have access to them. But you got to kind of think about this: that how many people have documents that they maybe shouldn't have access to? Yeah. So we'll see here. Now, Senator Joe Manchin gives us an update on the debt ceiling, which we've already passed the debt limits. And now basically the US government is basically cannot borrow any more money. They cannot print any more money until the government passes a new debt limit, which Republicans and Democrats have not even really started negotiating on at this point. And they're basically exhausting what's in the government checking accounts at this point, which is set to run out here in a mere matter of a couple months. And if that happens, the government will run out of money and not be able to make any type of payments at all on interest payments, bond interest payments, any debt payments, or even Social Security and Medicare or anything Medicaid, if that were to happen. And we've seen this said by the president, by senators, Bernie Sanders, and even we had a Kaiser Permanente official talk about it yesterday as well. I'll link to the video, very good video here yesterday if you didn't see that. Here's what Senator Joe Manchin has to say about this. Take a listen.
Let's talk about the debt ceiling. As always, you're trying to find a compromise middle ground.
Yep.
I know your instinct here. But why should Republicans get the benefit of the doubt on the debt ceiling here, considering that that they're sort of manufacturing a crisis that's a bit unnecessary right now?
Well, first of all, if one side thinks that the other one's more responsible for the debt, at $31.4 trillion, that is totally not accurate, and it's deceptive. We're all responsible. We got a $31.4 trillion debt. It's a runaway debt, and no one's holding themselves accountable. And basically, I think you've said it, use the budget process. I've been here 12 years. We haven't had a budget yet.
Yeah, that's what I don't get.
We haven't had a budget yet.
And that's what I question. You want to do this special committee here. And I'm sitting here going, why add more bureaucracy? We have a budget committee. We have 2 budget committees. We have a joint committee on taxation. We have all these different committees that have already been created to deal with this process. Why can't we use the congressional bureaucracy that exists? We
have 12 appropriations committee that's supposed to do their job. Why don't you basically put a time certain on what you can do and what you can't do and when you do it? I can't speak for that. I was a former governor of the state of West Virginia.
Right.
I was responsible for a balanced budget amendment and basically staying within the realms of my Constitution. So, I met every week. Every week, like clockwork, they walk in my office on a Tuesday or Wednesday and sit down and go over it. You're either going to have to make some cuts now, make some adjustments now so we can end the year with a balanced budget or a surplus. There's nothing that holds us accountable. Nothing at all. We can say, we're going to do it. As I've said before, 12 years, haven't had a budget. That's ridiculous.
So you want to do this sort of, that you and Senator Romney, to have committee that deals with the trust fund issues. But right now, neither party wants to touch that. I mean, in that sense, Donald Trump came out, and certainly Democrats, nobody wants to touch Social Security or Medicare.
Well, first of all.
So how do you separate those two out and deal with our fiscal?
Why would you scare the bejesus out of people that basically, let's say in West Virginia, I got 60% of my population, that's all they have is Medicare and Social Security. You think I'm going to go down that path and put them in jeopardy? No. But there are so much other things that basically wasteful spending that can be corralled in without scaring the bejesus, depending on what political side you're on.
Let me ask you about wasteful spending, because one of the 3 most hypocritical words I hear are waste, fraud, and abuse. Right? Everybody says, waste, fraud, and abuse.
And it's all there. It's all there.
but waste, fraud, and abuse isn't going to balance the budget. Okay, at the end of the day, there's going to have to be choices that have to be made. What is something that ought to be in the discussion of, maybe we're spending too much?
Well, we know we're spending too much because we're not balancing our budget, but we have more debt. The bottom line is it's in the eyes of the beholder. That's the problem that we have. 535 people said, wait a minute, what you're doing is wasteful, Chuck. I think you ought to cut that. And you're going to say, okay, Joe, how about yours?
But your spending that you think is mandatory, another person thinks is wasteful, right? Or abuse.
Yeah, and in here, just think, for every dollar, just break it down to the dollar. Is there any savings within that dollar you think that there's wasteful or abuse that we could at least have a target to set? Is it a penny? Is it 5 pennies? Is it a nickel? Where is it?
But here's what gets lost here is nobody will put anything on the table. Everybody says, we've got to cut spending. Well, what? And nobody wants to articulate
the process.
The what.
Chuck, you hit it dead on the head. The process isn't working. How come we're not held accountable to have the appropriation bills done at a certain time before the end of the fiscal year?
You tell me.
Well, that's what
I mean, what does Chuck Schumer say? What does Mitch McConnell say?
You know what happens? It rolls over into an omnibus bill at the end, and everything's thrown into it. Okay, here we got it, guys. That's it. Makes no sense.
So so it sounds like you actually think the debt ceiling is a moment we should use to focus on.
Well, if you're going to use a debt ceiling for anything except for theatrics, okay, which is what probably might happen for a while, we're going to pass the debt ceiling. You are exactly correct.
Right.
It has to pass. You know, we have the currency of the, good faith of the United States dollar and the currency of the world. You just can't let it default and basically hold us in jeopardy from where we stand in the world order. With that being said, is how do you get to it? Do you use this moment? Do you come to a responsibility? What are we paying for interest now? Mm-hmm. For 10 years, it was zero. It was funny money. We're not, it doesn't put any burden. Right. We're just raising debt, but we're not basically harming how we have to meet that debt through our interest payments. Now we're talking real money on an interest base. We're almost up to what our defense budget is, paying in interest.
I guess I come back to, and I don't think you have the answer either, which is, what is the moment to force this conversation?
This is a moment if Kevin McCarthy coming in new says, okay, it's serious, and he takes it from the standpoint, and he knows.
What does he need to do that you would take him seriously on this?
Well, Chuck.
You know what I mean by that? Like, how do you know when he's being serious, and how do you know when he's playing politics?
The bottom line is he has a heck of a political hand that's not very very good right now. He's not holding a lock, if you will, and he has 10 or 12 that's pretty much out there. He has to make a decision how he wants to govern and how he wants this next 2 years in this 118th Congress. It was amazing. I just saw that the Ohio legislature, I don't know if you paid any attention to that.
Yeah.
The Ohio legislature, which is Republican controlled, basically chose their new speaker, a Republican, with as many, if not more, votes from the Democrats because they wanted someone they can work with. That's a coalition. Why can't we put coalitions together here?
Well,
some moderate centrist Democrats coming over and working whoever's the majority and saying you don't have to bow on cowtail to the extremes.
Now, you don't have to worry about primaries. A lot of your colleagues have to worry about primaries.
Now, the problem here with the debt ceiling, well, they've already passed the debt ceiling. Now they're basically exhausting what's basically in the government funds, the government checking accounts, basically, until they run out, is that the Republicans and Democrats are going to have to agree to do this, which, well, look at how much problems the Republicans had agreeing on a leader for their own party within the Republican Party. Now you're going to have to get Republicans and Democrats to agree on two different sides to agree on this. It's going to be very difficult. And Republicans and Democrats are at completely opposite oppositions here in this. Democrats and President Joe Biden are saying they're not going to negotiate at all on this because a lot of this is, $31 trillion is basically the past debt and interest on the past debt. Now the government is actually spending, like they said, almost as much on interest on the past debt as the whole defense of our country. So now that interest has gone up, it's getting very, very expensive. So this is yet another problem for the government. This is why they don't want to keep interest rates high for too long. So this presents another massive problem for our country. So, yeah, this is just problem after problem after problem here. The other problem is the longer they wait on this, it just becomes a huge issue here. And Congress, it seems like they always wait until the last minute. And if they don't actually get an agreement here, everything could implode. So, and one of these times, okay, so here's the problem is, how many times have we actually had a government shutdown? Many times, because they can't agree at the last minute, and they just don't get an agreement. Well, if this happens one time with a government default or a government, basically the debt limit, like they basically pass the debt limit, but if it actually happens where at the final stage of the debt limit, kaboom, government runs out of money and then payments don't go out for everything. So we've seen this happen with government shutdowns many times before. So to say that this can't happen for the debt limit, it's not to say that it can't happen, because That's like saying a government shutdown can't happen. And well, how many times have we seen that happen? And not only have we not seen it, or not only have we seen it happen many times, but we've seen government shutdowns happen for months. And they haven't been able to agree for months after the government is shut down. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments, and I'll keep you up to date here on this. Congress is dysfunctional as ever. So if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe down below to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on new videos that come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's completely free to subscribe, and this way you won't miss out on new videos. Click the bell icon after you subscribe, and I'll keep you up to date here. Also, thanks so much for liking and sharing these videos. Here's some videos you can watch next. Here is a video with hundreds of millions of dollars just approved for Americans. And here is another video with big news for Social Security and Medicare that you need to watch. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.